pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I'm fantastic, Mr. Ali. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic as well. It's getting a little colder, so I got a sweater on, but can't complain. I've always been a summer person, but I'm actually a little excited for a little change of weather. It means change of seasons, new opportunities, new beginnings. So I'm excited.
That's good. I struggle with the cold, especially more recently, having many years living in Colorado, Montana, being cold. I'm just about over being cold, to be honest with you.
I hear you, man. Trust me. Being from Texas, half Mexican, half Palestinian, like warm. I'm warm-blooded for sure, but.
You know what'll keep you warmer?
What's that?
One of these fancy On Purpose podcast T-shirts. Look at those.
Yes.
First edition coming out just in time for our workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see where everything's going and just the community that we've earned the trust of and that continues to show up time in, time out with us. It's quite humbling and an honor to be able to serve them.
Yeah, these are so dope, the black and gold, and I love our logo. If you guys haven't noticed, it's a mic in front of a sword and a shield, and we felt that was a really good representation of the brand, of the community, and I am loving these T-shirts.
Yeah, I think it symbolizes the strength in sharing your stories and speaking out for wanting more in your life and wanting to include others in your chase of more purpose, more passion, and more just living of life on your terms. So yeah, it's a fantastic logo. Kudos to you and Jill for putting it together, because the creative side isn't my strength, but I'd certainly love it, and I can't wait to start wearing that around town.
Yeah, same here. All right, so it looks like we got some purposeful practice review from last week's episode, You Don't Need Permission to Be Great. What reflections did you have over the week, Jared?
I just took the next step on some projects that I had been working on that I had kind of put off, and I don't know exactly why I wasn't stepping forward, but I think some of it was fear of not being very good, or what if somebody didn't like it, specifically my book. I've had the book written for a couple months now and just kind of not taking the next step to get it edited and to start working through the publishing process. So I was kind of holding myself back from that next step of greatness that I know I'm supposed to take. So I was excited. I met with the editor and we got things rolling. So hoping to have that out by the end of the year.
Yeah.
How about you?
Let's see. I did some reflection on things that hold me back from being great and what I believe I'm great at, reflections from my childhood to today. And I've believed and have been told that I'm great at, performing, being in front of people, connecting, inspiring, making people laugh, things like that. And also in the athletic realm, which translates to today, still building community, performing, getting in front of people, and still in athletics, training MMA. And I also did some reflection on what are some things that I do to limit myself. And I think with always setting goals and achieving goals too, sometimes I allow myself to have these just kind of negative cycles of bad habits, whether that be kind of binging or indulging with bad foods, alcohol, tobacco, things like that, to where it's I have these temporary little backslides, and in the back of my head, I'm like, I know it's only temporary, and I'm gonna bounce back. To where if I could somehow consistently transform those short, temporary little negative binge cycles into some type of positive binge, I think that would help me reach that next level of greatness. So that's definitely something that I'll be working on with our community during the workshop, is really diving deeper into that and trying to live my life with more purpose as well. That's the most fun part about this podcast, is that Jared and I, especially me, Jared has a lot more world experience, but are also working on living our most purposeful life. We're not coming to you with all of the answers and saying that we know everything. It's really just sharing our story, sharing our experience, and growing together as a community. So the little knowledge that we do have, we feel that we can share, and hopefully it can be of value to our community members out there, and really inspire the conversation. So
And just reflecting, we all have things that hold us back. We all have um, habits, practices, or lack thereof that keep us from being who we really want to be. And it's easy to lose your way in today's world. It's easy to just accept that this is all that life has, and kind of go through the motions. And we want to inspire conversations and reflection to maybe challenge that a little bit and see what we can really create. So, like on your, what you just shared there, I think is interesting, and something that probably many of our listeners can relate to, is this the temporary setbacks that we create ourselves.
yeah,
Right, like we have some success going, we have some momentum, and then we're like, okay, I've earned this party weekend, I've earned this time away from the gym, wherever it is, and we kill our own momentum.
yeah,
And then you come back and you're like, oh, I got to start over. I know I can do it. Well, you can do it because you've been doing it. But if it's a weekend here, a week there, if you start to compile that time, how much time have we actually not moved ourselves forward out of a reward type situation?
yeah, exactly.
And then creating momentum's always the hardest thing. Once you have the ball rolling, it's easier to keep it rolling. But if you constantly stop it on your own accord, it's hard to continue to move forward.
Yeah,
And you find yourself dealing with the same things over and over.
definitely. Yeah, it can become a bad habit. So
And it's not just what you talked about. I mean, I fall into moments where I'm like, I just don't really feel like talking to this person, even though I know I'm supposed to talk to them.
right.
And like, I'll literally take it from my calendar and just drag it to tomorrow. Right. And what all I'm doing there is falling back into, well, I don't want to have this tough conversation. Or what if they say no? Instead of moving forward, I'm just delaying what I know I need to get done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us do that. I think it was Aristotle who said that we are dragged by our emotions like a group of horses, to where if we feel an emotion, we let ourselves be dragged with that emotion and take action based on those emotions.
Sure.
To where, when we're really living with purpose, we realize that we're not always in control of our emotions. Sometimes our emotions just arise, and all we can choose is how we react and how
Absolutely.
we choose to behave with those emotions. But sometimes it can be hard when you're feeling like shit, feeling down,
Yeah.
to execute on what you should be executing on. And I think that ties in perfectly to today's episode number 33, where we are discussing bad days.
Yeah, and we're always in control of our emotion or our responses. And that's one thing I want, and that kind of ties into what we're talking about today for sure. Is I'm not always going to have the greatest day. Not every day is going to be perfect, but how I respond is truly my choice. And I think, to me, a bad day is simply when I let myself down. And I like thinking of it that way. As we prepared for this, when I was really kind of giving myself some ideas of what do I consider a bad day. And that's truly what it boils down to, is when I let myself down.
What does that mean for you, though? How do you let yourself down?
When I don't do what I know I'm supposed to do, right? Because then I own the day,
Yeah.
right? No, I'm not saying a bad day is when Ali doesn't say hi to me in the way I want, or this person doesn't recognize me, or there's a train that blocks my traffic, or this happens or that happens, because that's all external, and that stuff is always going to happen. But I know I own the day, so how do I respond to these things?
Yeah.
Do I take the moment that the train's blocking me and I got to sit there to make the call I know I should have had? Do I you know what I mean? I like taking a bad day out of the hands of everybody else and giving it back to myself. I get to choose if I have a bad day. And to me, a bad day is simply when I don't do what I know I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, amen. No, that's funny, because that's the exact definition that I had. Was a bad day is when I don't complete the tasks that I set out to do, especially the primary ones.
Yep.
Right, to where or if I didn't even set up my day with intention. That's also a bad
Because you
day.
just let yourself down.
Right, right. Wasted a day to where sometimes I'll have days to where I'll just be going through the motions. I'm like, man, I didn't even check, my task list, or really
Right.
structure my day to win.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, both of those. If I didn't do what I set to do, or I didn't set my day up with tasks of what I need to do today.
Yeah, and I think that's important is for me, I know that I control a lot of things in life, and I know that I don't control a lot of things in life. So being very structured and cognizant of what do I have control over? Well, I don't have control over the universe. I don't have control over what bad things may happen out there day to day, but I completely have control over how I respond and the effort I put into my days. So to me, a bad day is simply when I don't do what I'm supposed to do, period. Whether it's spending time with Andrea, getting my workout in, writing, blogging, going for connections, working, whatever it is I'm supposed to do. If I get that stuff done, then it's not a bad day, despite what may or may not have happened that day.
Yeah. There's a quote, I forgot who said it, but it's something along the lines of, the simplest and most important lesson for man is to do what they are supposed to do when they are supposed to do
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Unfortunately, that's one of the last lessons man truly masters. Right?
It's just
Because,
showing up.
yeah,
And think about, and I see this in business, I'm sure you see this. People will email the gym interested in our free week. And I get notified when I got new contact emails, and I try to respond within an hour because they're potential customers. And I'm shocked at how many of them are like, wow, that was so fast. Thanks for getting back to me. And I'm thinking, it's a basic task. Like, somebody's interested in spending money at your business. The least you could do is say, hey, here's how you can spend money at my business. But I'm shocked when I get messages like, yeah, we emailed 2 other gyms and they didn't get back to us for a week or a month. And I'm like, right, that's just not doing what you're supposed to do.
yeah,
And it doesn't take much. And that's what the more I do and the more we explore different things in life, it always comes back to the simplest things of just do what you said you were going to do.
right.
Sometimes we overcomplicate it, and we get caught up in all these details. And I'm not a huge detail guy, but literally just show up when you're supposed to be somewhere. Just if somebody calls you, call them back. If you're supposed to be emailing, email. If you're supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time, be there. That is stuff you control.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up business, because in my journey as an entrepreneur, I'm seeing more and more parallels of running business of how I run my life.
For sure.
One of the first most important things in business and in systems, and I'm reading a few books on that. One of them is the E-Myth Revisited, and another one is called Traction, which has a whole system on how to operate your business. It's called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And the first part of both books is defining your core values for your business. And I think that's so important for us as humans as well, to live our most purposeful life. Like, what do you value most? That's what you make decisions based off of. And now, over 4 years as an entrepreneur, I'm guilty of the same things. I'm sure there was times where we weren't getting back to people within, I know there was, within a day, 2 days. Some of them we probably didn't get back to for 4 or 5 days, and that's because, yeah, we knew what we were supposed to do for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't have a system in place, right? We didn't have things like we're going to be building building a framework like we will at the workshop,
Yeah.
right? Truly laying it out, because a lot of us, it's all in our head, and that's great, right? Oh, I kind of know what I'm supposed to do, but we're humans. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. We have so much stuff going on. To maybe that maybe these are great businesses
Yeah.
that didn't reply to their people. And it took them a week,
Right.
But because they didn't have a system in place, now it looks bad. It took them a week to reply, and I think that's for a lot of people too. Of like, it's good people. They know what they want to do. That they know what they're kind of supposed to do, but they don't have a system. They're not taking the time and the diligence and the discipline to create a purposeful life system for themselves.
Right, and I agree, and that's we've talked about this in other episodes. Like, how do you structure your morning? Like, how do you structure the first part of your day? Really sets the tone for all of your day. If I get up and there's no real structure, and I get up 10 minutes before I have to leave, and I throw on my clothes and I race out the door, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to take whatever the world throws at me. Well, you're setting yourself up to have bad days because you're not taking ownership of your actual day. You're just literally last minuting it. So whatever the world throws at you is going to affect your mood, your emotions, how you approach things. And inevitably, the way the world works, you're going to have far more bad days in that circumstance than you will good days. Like, very few happenstance days are all the lights going to be green and everybody at work's going to do exactly what you wanted. And right, it's just, that's not real.
Right.
So by having some structure, by winning the morning, we can set ourselves up to handle all the things that don't go our way the rest of the day because we have some framework. We have some idea on how we're going to control it and how we're going to respond.
Yeah, and it's interesting, reflecting on today's episode, I didn't even think about structure and process being attributed to bad days. But now as I'm reflecting, as you're talking, I'm realizing that more bad days happen when I'm not following
Absolutely.
my structure and routines and my habits that I put in place.
And the thing is, we know it. And right, so like go back to your purposeful practice from last week. You talked about, your binge cycles, like having a binge weekend. Well, why is it that you normally feel bad coming off of that when you're like, I deserve this, I should feel good? Well, we normally feel bad because we're like, damn it, I got off my routine, right? I wasn't strict on my diet. I wasn't drinking enough water. And now we know it takes a couple of days to get us back into the flow of things. If we disrupt our structure.
Yeah. And I don't have structure around that.
Right.
Right. I bet you if I approach some of this binging with some structure, right? Like in 2015, I did a men's physique show, and the diet, like when I had that cheat meal, it was time for that cheat meal and I enjoyed it and I didn't feel bad.
But it fit into the plan.
Exactly. Some of these negative binge cycles that I have don't. It's just kind of like, I just want to get drunk tonight, so I'm going to drink and have a good time, and whatever happens. And then I get back to Sunday and I'm like, oh man, like I kind of wish I had done this, and structure my week, and I feel a little guilt for that.
Right, which then weighs on you, right? Because you feel like I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I'm not saying don't have things you do away from your purpose, and like not every day do I wake up and all day long I'm like, nope, I gotta go. Like there's times to pull back and relax.
Yeah.
But that should be within the flow of you moving forward, not a put the brakes on and stop. And now I'm going to jump over here and do all this stuff that I've been not wanting to do for 6 weeks. And then, okay, those 2 days are over. Now I'm going to try to move forward. Well, because now you got to move back a little bit to get going forward again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a big train, right? Like the train, you hear when it's starting to go, the engine like, it makes the noise. You can hear all the cars pulling, but it takes a while before it actually gets enough momentum to start pulling forward.
Yeah. And
every time we deviate from our structure, every time we deviate from what we're doing to be successful every day, we're like stopping it.
Yeah, Dan, that's a good analogy, because a train does like.
And think about it.
It could take a long time to get momentum.
Well, I know this because our neighborhood has to come out by train yard every day with this construction. So I sit there and watch it. But like everybody I know, I can't honestly think of one person, Ali, that I don't know that doesn't have big dreams, that doesn't have this idea of like, man, I could really be doing this. But why aren't they doing that? A lot of times it's because they kill their own momentum, right? Like maybe they'll start their side hustle. They'll jump into a side business, and they'll go for a little while, and then they'll drift away. They lose interest. They lose motivation. And I think a lot of that to me goes back to they don't have a plan for how do they attack things. Right? I can't tell you how many side hustles I've heard where like, I just don't have time, but when I do, I'm going to do this. Well, make time. Gary Vee talks about this all the time. Like, don't watch Netflix. Don't watch HBO. Like, if that's 2 hours, you could have been putting that towards your side hustle.
Right.
Again, it's just your structure of what is important.
100%. There's no such thing as don't have time.
No. When you say you don't have time, I literally want you to stop a minute, look in the mirror and go, I'm choosing not to.
Right.
Because that's what I don't have time says. I'm literally choosing, hey, honey, I would love to spend more time with you, but I don't have time. No. I'm choosing not to spend time with you.
Right.
Hey, kids, I would love to play ball with you. I just don't have time. No, stop. You're choosing not to play ball with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's literally a choice. So I don't have time is literally I'm choosing not to. And think about that. If you had to tell people, Ali, I just don't have time to work on the podcast this week. I'll get to you next week. If you had to flip that and have to look at somebody and be like, hey, just so you know, I'm choosing not to do what I said I was going to do with you today, you probably would make time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would
That's
literally make
straightforward.
time.
Honestly, I'd be like, wow, respect. But also, what the hell?
Well, how many times did you partner with me?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you knew like I was purposely choosing not to do what I told you I was going to do.
Yep.
And to me, that's a bad day.
Yeah.
When I don't do what I'm supposed to do, when I make the choice to not do it, that's what I would consider a bad day.
Yep, we have the power to choose. That's one thing we can control is our choice, our decisions. So what do you do, Jared? How do you react when you're having a bad day? And is it usually, do you realize it in the middle of your day, or is it usually at the end of the day where you're like, today was a bad day? How are you reacting and being aware of that?
Well, first off, I don't really think there's bad days. And I'd be curious some feedback from our listeners in their practice, but I just can't wrap my head around that 24 hours could all be bad. Like, I just can't, like, I can't imagine a day where every minute of every hour was bad. So I think you have bad moments. You have bad 10-minute blocks. You may have a bad hour. But I'm interested in your thoughts on this. I really can't fathom having an entirely bad day.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought.
Unless I didn't show up. Right? If I didn't get out of bed and I just laid in bed all day with my head under the covers and didn't show up for anybody anywhere, that might be 24 hours a bad day. But even then, I might have a fun dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's an optimistic view. I think for me, I think I notice it in moments, like you said,
yeah.
of like that example you gave earlier. Like if I woke up late and didn't get my morning start, right, ran out, then I realized like, man, I'm a little behind. I got to turn things around, kind of thing. And I think typically at the end of the day, I'll be a little hard on myself and classify a day as a bad day if I felt like I could have done a lot more.
Sure.
Or sometimes I will, like you said, move something to the next day of like I'm just not feeling it today.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I could have chosen to suck it up and get whatever it was done.
Yeah.
But there are times where I remember recently, just a few weeks ago, and this was the first time in years that day of I decided not to speak at Toastmasters. I had a speech lined up.
Oh, wow.
It was and the only reason I did it is because it was a speech-a-thon. So there was 9 other speakers, but I was one of the 2 that ended up canceling day of. And I remember just thinking, like, I'm just having a bad day. Like, I'm not feeling it. You know, like, I don't want to go out there and deliver when I'm just not feeling it. And I think that there are days, like I said, I've only done that one time ever before, and I've been in Toastmasters for 7 years. And I think that there are sometimes outside circumstances to where, like, it's okay to be gentle with yourself if very rarely that happens and you just kind of check out and chalk it up as a bad day. However, I know that it would have been just as easy for me to decide differently and be like, you know what, today fucking sucks. I'm feeling like shit. I don't want to speak, but I committed to this and I'm going to speak. You know, and I reflected on it after, and of course I felt like, man, I should have spoke, but life and what we think, you know, our thoughts, our emotions can take us to that point sometimes. So I just wanted to share that, recently I did have one of
Yeah.
those to where I just chalked it up and I just kind
And
of
how many?
checked out.
How'd you feel the next day?
I felt like it's time to fucking go, stop being a little bitch, and
Yeah. Did you
get to it.
apologize to people for not speaking?
Oh yeah, I apologize. I still went to the meeting.
You just didn't speak.
And I told everyone, yeah, and I
Yes.
said, I have a little bit of a shame around this, but I'm, letting you guys know that I actually use the analogy that we use for community. I was like, sometimes we come to community to give, and today I just want to take. Like I came here to listen to you guys, and I don't really have anything to give tonight. I just want to, hear you guys
Yeah.
speak and receive some of that positive energy. And of course, everyone was like accepting of it, but in the back of my head, I was like, you.
And why didn't you speak? What was the cause?
Just a lot of adversity with the business, as there's a lot going on. It was pretty recently, to where I found out about a close death in the
Yeah.
family. I just got my own head.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, nothing
Nothing too crazy.
nothing too crazy. It just got in my own head.
So that could have been like your best speech ever.
Could have. Could
Yeah,
have been.
and we go through those moments and we go through that process. And like, I'll be perfectly honest, that keynote I had to do 2 weeks ago, or whatever. As I was driving down, there was part of me hoping the whole show would get canceled. Right, like, but then I was like, okay, well, I better get up here and do this because I committed to it.
Yeah.
And I've backed out of things before in life too, but I know for me, I always like that weighs heavily for a couple days.
Yeah.
And if I have to apologize to people, I guess that would be another time I would say I would have a bad day. Like going back to how do I consider a bad day? If I let myself down or I have to apologize for people, that's two people, I would be disappointed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that would be a bad day because I don't usually have to apologize a whole lot.
Right.
But if I did, I'd probably have to reflect and be okay, like, why did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a bad day if I don't do what I set to do, but it's even more of a bad day if I didn't do what I'm supposed to do and I committed to other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was definitely a bad day.
But see, I love that, right? And I want our listeners to hear that. What you just said there is fantastic. It's definitely a bad day if you've committed to other people
Yeah.
and then you don't do
then
what you're
don't
supposed to
show
do.
up. Yeah, that's the
Because you
worst.
made a promise. You put your word out. You shook a hand, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think so many of our listeners, so many people in the world today shy away from even telling somebody they're going to do something because they are planning on letting them down already. Right? Like their default is, well, I won't commit to this. I won't commit to having coffee with you. I won't commit to meeting you at this time because in my back of my mind, I let you down
Right.
because I've been practicing this so much.
Yeah.
That we don't even share. We don't even honor commitments.
Yeah.
And that we're even shy to make them.
Shit, even to hang out. Yeah, well, I'll see what I'm doing this weekend. Like even with people that you're close to.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be hard. But you know what though, it was nice because someone in my Toastmasters group, Patrick, told me. He's like, well, it's nice to know you have bad days every once in a while, Mr.
human.
Positivity.
Yeah, it's human.
And he made me reflect on that. And I was like, you know what? It really is very, very, very rare for me to have bad days because of, again, the structure and the framework that I have in
Yeah.
place. Practicing gratitude with intention, working out, having good endorphins, executing on my list of things that I need to get done and feeling that sense of achievement once I'm getting those
And who
done.
you surround yourself
eating
with.
healthy, who I'm around. Exactly.
If
So
you're around a bunch of people that make excuses, don't show up when they're supposed to show up, are completely unreliable, if that's your circle, it's easy to fall into that habit.
yeah.
Whereas when your circle is high performers, people show up, if they say they're going to do it, they're there early, it's getting done. Well, then it's even more, I don't want to say pressure because I don't think it's pressure, but it's even more, to me, it's like an honor. It's even more like this show. It's even more honorable to me that we have to show up every Thursday at the same time because people are trusting us.
Yeah.
So if we cancel, we let all them down. And I think that's where this purpose, getting back to your purpose and understanding why you do what you do is bigger than you, will push you through these bad moments when you want to quit. It'll push you through the bad moments when you don't want to do what you're supposed to do. because you knew somebody else was counting on you?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I would say very, very rare. I would say I've had a couple, literally like two bad days this entire year, or something that I would consider a
Yeah.
bad day. Yeah, of course, maybe there's times I didn't get everything I wanted to get done, but something that I would consider a bad day, like that day that I chose to not follow through on something that I had committed to, that was a bad day to me. How often would you say, Jared, that you have bad days? And for our listeners, reflect on that too. How often?
All the time.
Yeah,
All the time.
that
I,
you consider a bad day.
I have bad moments of days every single day.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, of course.
And I think that is where I want people to understand. If you only do what you're supposed to do and what you said you were going to do on the days everything aligns and you feel great, you're not going to get a whole lot of shit done. Because the world is going to give you bad moments. It's going to impede your plans. It's going to throw up obstacles that you didn't want there. So I literally think I have bad days and bad moments every single day. But I also know that how we handle those is what truly defines our life. Right? How we handle somebody disappointing us. How we handle things not going our way. And if you think to the people that you look up to that are most successful in whatever frame of life, they're not successful because everything went perfect for them and they were just blessed.
Yeah.
They're usually where they're at because of how they handled the adversity, how they handled the days they didn't want to do things, how they handled the moments that they felt bad.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for me, what I'm learning, where I'm at in my life, when I have those bad moments and I talk about them, I share them with somebody like you, or like I had a good talk with Darren at the gym yesterday. When I share those, then I get over them quicker. I process faster.
Definitely.
And that, if I could go back on anything in my life, I would have learned that lesson sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, sharing adversity, sharing your struggles, talking about them, even if you're not seeking advice, is a healthy practice.
Just getting it out.
So counselors get paid so much money to just
To
sit
sit
there
and
and
listen.
Yeah. Yeah, just to hear you vent, right?
Right. So, but I think, like, literally there's something that's not going to go right for me today, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
So now if I don't analyze it and then move forward, and I just stop on that moment, then that moment can become my whole day because I literally haven't moved past it. Versus taking it as a moment of the day. And I think a lot of people, honestly, they default to, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Well, you're having a bad day because you got stuck in a bad moment and you chose not to move on.
Right.
That's just how I see it.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. And I used I'm having a bad day as an excuse.
So do you think that if I say I'm having a bad day, it's an excuse?
I think so.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I think so.
You're literally just telling me you didn't want to move forward.
Yeah.
And so what was your bad day? Right? Like, how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I'm having a bad day, my alarm didn't go off"? Well, dude, that ended the minute you got out of bed. The alarm going off issue ended as soon as you woke up. So now you're going to let the alarm didn't go off affect 12 hours?
Yeah.
Choice. And I think you and I both agree on this, being in business and being in building communities and really networking with a lot of people. Time is our number one commodity. And which is why we appreciate our listeners, because we know if you're giving us 45 minutes of your day, we want to earn that all the time. But I just can't fathom, like, it just blows my mind that I'm willing to give up the 24 hours that is, what is today, the 8th of October, something like that? The 8th of October. I'm willing to give up these 24 hours of potential greatness because my alarm didn't go off on time at 6:30. Because my alarm didn't go off at 6:30, I'm now going to have a bad day all day and approach everything like it's a bad day. What a waste of 24 hours.
Yeah, fuck that. That sucks.
But we know those people.
Yeah, they're out there.
And the irony is, they don't usually just have random bad days. They have a lot of bad days. And
Hmm.
it kind of becomes their default as to why their days aren't well. My alarm didn't go off. Traffic sucks. My car wouldn't start. The dog ate my homework. Whatever the case, right? Which to me all goes back to making excuses.
Hmm. And it takes just as much energy to choose to move past that and to not let those things affect you. It takes just as much energy.
To stay stuck in the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, same.
And it
Same amount
drains
of
you.
energy.
Like how many? You don't feel good being the downer. You don't feel good just complaining that your alarm didn't go off all day.
Hmm.
You're emotionally draining yourself
Yeah, it's just routine. It's
to
habit.
create no progress.
It really hurts me to see that in people, of that the habit of complaining and seeing the negative, because we are, I forgot what it's called, that effect of like, you never saw the car, and then when you buy the car,
You see it all the
you
time.
see it all the time. I forgot exactly what that's called, but essentially it's the same thing.
Yeah.
To where whatever you're focused on, that's what you're going to see more of.
Well, and think about that. You're absolutely right. If I look, if in our interaction I'm looking for all your faults, that's what I'm going to find.
Yep.
Whereas if I look to find your greatness, I'm going to see what you're great at. It's the same thing for our days. If I look to find every reason why I can't be successful today, you will find plenty. On the flip side, if you look to find all the reasons why you can be great, you'll find opportunities. They're there. They're not this magical, elusive thing. It's literally how you choose to see your day. And if I could leave one thing for people, it's don't let a bad moment take away the entire 24 hours that makes up that day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's typically in moments. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
With us, it seems like we agreed that having a bad day is an excuse, and no matter what happens, we have the ability to choose how to react to whatever
sure, always.
situations. Do you think there's ever a time where we should allow ourselves to have a bad day, or allow ourselves to, check out and not do the things that we set to do? Do you think that there are circumstances that should allow for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Like what?
Well, like for me, I would tell you is having my grandpa pass away this summer.
Hmm.
Right? That's a bad day. When you go to a funeral, like that's not a fun day. But instead of telling myself it's a bad day, I'm going to eat poorly, I'm going to drink excessive alcohol, I'm just going to let my emotions run. It's a bad day because we lost someone we loved, but it's a great day because I get to share that moment with my daughter. I get to share that moment with my mom. I get to be there to help as we process losing someone.
Yeah, you get to reflect on all those great memories.
We get to
of that
celebrate the 93 years of life.
person. Exactly.
But at the same funeral, I saw people that were like hysterical, out of control, and drinking a ton of, you know what I mean? I'm just like, well, that makes it worse. And so I think it goes back to what you said earlier, having that structure and knowing my core values. Well, my core values are that I don't drink excessively. I just, it's just not what I do. I don't do certain things. So because I'm now having a bad moment, losing my grandpa, doesn't mean I'm going to abandon everything else I believe in and behave this way, because that would make it way worse. So I think it's okay to have bad days. You're not always going to have the greatest moments. You're not always going to have the day that's 100 on a scale of 0 to 100. But we shouldn't also have a bunch of days that are 0 on the scale of 0 to 100.
Hmm.
And finding that middle ground where, okay, this isn't the best day. Like I've struggled with this, I've struggled with that, but I'm still staying true to who I am, allows you to move forward even on those bad times.
It sounds to me like no matter what, even if your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your brother, whoever dies,
Mm-hmm.
you can still control how you react to it and whether or not it's a bad or good day.
Absolutely. I can't see situations in my life where I don't have control of my response.
Hmm.
Like, tell me one. Tell me one thing that can happen to me that I can't control how I respond.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Swimming in the ocean. One of my biggest fears is drowning in the ocean because I love boogie boarding. Getting sucked out to the ocean by a riptide. I still get to control my response. Do I panic and lose the fact that I'm supposed to swim side to side and not try to swim straight in against the current? Right? No, like, okay, this sucks. I'm in a riptide. I'm getting swept out. Stay calm. Swim one way or the other out, and you'll get out of it here shortly. But if you swim straight, you're going to get sucked way out to sea. Like, it sucks situational, but I still have a choice.
Right.
So I don't, and I think that's the power we talk about. I want to have power over my life. It's my life. It's not your life. It's nobody else gets my life but me. So why would I just hand over the keys and say, okay, it's a bad day, just do whatever. I have no choice in how I respond. I would literally lose my mind if that was my mentality.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, right? But I would literally, I can't even put myself in a frame of mind where I don't think I have control of my days.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, not everybody thinks like you.
No, but
Because-
we can. But I think it starts taking control of moments,
Yeah.
right? Like take control of moments. There's a bad moment, like okay, take a deep breath, realize it sucks, understand what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to do to grow from this? I've had plenty of those recently, and there were times I was like, God, why is this happening to me? Like, we're supposed to be doing this already. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on? And then I stopped and I thought, and I was like, no, wait a second. Okay, I see what's going on, world. I'm supposed to learn something here. So let me look at why did this bad thing happen, and what do I learn from it? And I take back my power in how I respond to my days.
I love it. I love it. So how can we turn what we believe is a bad day into a good day?
I think just that. Realizing every day will have bad moments, and it's up to you if you're going to allow those moments to become a complete day, or if you're going to stop, catch your breath, get your bearings, and figure out, okay, how do I handle this, and what do I learn from it, and then move forward.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite examples is when we used to work the CSU football games. I had a buddy, Mark Neal, that him and I would direct traffic at the same place all the time. And game day traffic, they couldn't go the ways they were used to. We had all these cones up to get all the people into the stadium and out, and people would literally lose their mind. They'd pull up and they'd be like, I live right over there. I can't get there. And we're like, relax. There's 6 days a year that this happens. 6 days a year. Here's how you're going to get to your house, which is right over there. I understand you live there, but don't let this ruin your whole day. And people would just freak out, and it was like a microcosm life lesson for me that, like, literally this person knows one way home, and because there's cones there in a football game in this giant stadium right by your house, which you knew plays football, because you can't go the same route you always go every day, you're going to freak out and start yelling at people. The reality is you got a different route. It takes 2 more minutes. And I think, to me, those were kind of moments where I was like, boy, I used to act just like that guy. I would freak out on this stuff.
That's your emotions dragging you like a group of horses. You feel that emotion and it just drags you. You let that emotion just control your day. And I see that so much. And I used to do that a lot, to where I would feel and embrace this emotion and let it impact how I felt for the rest of the day.
Well, and I think that even goes back to what you started the podcast with. Those weekend binges, the short binges, are based not off of what you think is best for you, but what your emotion says you want most.
Yeah.
I mean, they're emotional. They're emotional decisions to partake in something that doesn't put you where you want it to be, or where you even were an hour before.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. I recently read something that really resonated well with me about how we are not our emotions, and that we can really do a practice which helps with that, with language, right? Language, the power of words is so important. Instead of saying, I'm angry, you can realize that you're not your emotions. Say, I am feeling anger.
Yep.
Right? I am feeling
Small things.
these emotions,
Yep.
to where instead of saying that you are that emotion, because that language alone is putting you in that mindset, is putting you in that frame to
Yeah.
where when you say like, I am feeling this, you realize that it's a temporary thing,
Right.
right? That you're not immersed and you're not one with that emotion.
Yeah.
You can choose to
Absolutely.
let that go and move to a different emotion.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'm guilty of this too, sometimes we identify to be the emotion. I am angry. I am sad.
Well, think about it. How many people do you know that their primary emotion becomes how they identify themselves? Right? Like you have that one friend who's like, oh, there's angry Bill.
Yeah.
Bill's always
He's
angry.
just always pissed.
Yeah, and then he starts to call himself, I'm fucking angry Bill.
He's just an angry guy.
Dude, you had angry moments that you let control your life, and it's literally become your lack of an emotional control has become your sole identity. Crazy to me, boy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bad days, I think, are excuses. I think you have bad moments. Every day will have moments that you didn't plan for, that you didn't desire, that you didn't want. But how you choose to respond to them is completely up to you. And giving any other of that power away, I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yep.
Because it's successful, I throw that in air quotes because success is different for everybody. As successful as we feel, our success tomorrow is going to be determined on how we deal with the bad stuff today.
Yeah. Yeah, and every day we have an opportunity to do what we're supposed to do or not, to be successful or not. So every day is an opportunity.
Awesome.
Well, I think we are ready to jump into some purposeful practice. I liked talking about that one since I had a recent but rare bad day, and I'm glad that we talked this out and had some realization. So great episode. So practice for this week is take inventory of how often you have bad days and how you respond. Really explore that, what you consider bad days and why. Part 2 is how can you change your response to a bad day to live with more purpose? And then most importantly, part 3 is email your practice to onpurpose.official@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah, keep submitting the practice. It's growing every week, and we're certainly humbled and honored that you trust us to help guide you to that most purposeful life. So by the time you hear this episode, we will be 2 days away from our first workshop, October 19th, Fort Collins, Colorado. There's only a couple spots left, so jump on the Eventbrite link in our social media if you want to get registered for those.
It'll be at the Innisphere building off Vine, very close to Old Town.
Yep, just north of Old Town. And you're going to leave with your own blueprint to create your most purposeful life. It's been a fun project to work on. Ali has his here that we're kind of working through to make sure we bring you the best possible product. And as always, team, remember, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We'll see everybody next week.